Yo guys, this is Reinhardt, this is your favorite Russian talking, and everybody, a lot of people ask me what do I think about new expansion of World of Warcraft. Are there anything that my analytical brain can touch? And it's actually can touch a lot of stuff. So I think this video is only for you guys, but it's gonna be a long video because I'm gonna break down almost every single hidden message given here by Blizzard to try to understand what the hidden kind of a message they're trying to portray you. This is gonna be a long vlog, because there's a lot of stuff to cover, but I guarantee you that I will do my best to provide you with a quality content like I always do. Before that, I want to make an announcement that I will have my girlfriend, actually Possum, or the Awesome Possum, helping me in making some awesome quality content videos with either voiceovering or making videos itself. She'll make a good job, and I promise you that. Anyway, let's actually talk here a little bit about the Warlords of Draenor, my friends. And everybody knows that it was a big failure. It was the rapid and the highest and the fastest decline in subscriber count possible, and that's including that a lot of people actually renewed their sub with the gold money. That means it's even further less revenue for Blizzard. And the reason why they wanted to keep the subscription not looking that it declined so much and so fast is introducing that. So that was a hidden agenda on their part. And they foresaw that like 4 to 5 months ago. So that was a very smart idea. And here you can actually feel that they're trying to stand out of the Worlds of Draenor as much as possible. So let's get started, my friends, here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is the cinematic. Okay, the cinematic is pretty epic. He digs out the Illidan, which I have no idea how he survived anyway, but I'm not the lore buff like Noble. What Noble said, and he's probably the biggest lore buff possible, he said on his stream that a lot of good ideas that a lot of people demanded from them, they felt like implementing it because they kind of have to latch on to this expansion and they want to make sure that this is very good, and they're also pressed on time because people getting discussed as Warlords of Draenor. There's a lot of pressure on these guys, believe it or not, a lot of pressure. But also what he said is sometimes when there's a lot of good ideas coming from the players and what content they want to see, it's not only all about, okay, well this sounds good, let's just throw it in there and hope it works. It doesn't feel like it's not a chopped show where, hey, let's put a bunch of ingredients together, random ones, to make a dish and hopefully it tastes good. Anyway, so we see a lot of fans here, and I'm gonna fast forward. First of all, I'm not gonna really touch too much on the lore because essentially the lore is the lore presentation was possibly not the worst, but the presentation in my opinion was a little bit too dry. So in that sense, and I'm not a huge lore, I'm a PvPer. I chase the content and the complexity of the game over anything else. So with that said, we're gonna skip the lore part and we're gonna jump right into the few things. So first of all, artifacts and the class orders. So okay, so one thing here to say, the Legion represents the biggest threat to our world. Great, but not that great, because the orcs present a really good threat, and whenever I saw demons coming out of the gateways, the only thing I could have just thought about is how many blood balls it takes to kill the demons, because the orcs were very weak. There was no challenge at all whatsoever. I've been running like a PvP gear only 2 seasons behind when I started Warlords of Draenor, and it still was too easy to kill. I think I just died once because I was just too tired to actually play even. I was like falling asleep. So I want to see a little bit more complexity, a lot harder content essentially. I wanted to have the leveling to be kind of a journey. Like the leveling should be like the leveling should not be long, but it should be challenging. The amount of time you actually the amount of time players level and just go through the easy grind, if it takes 10 hours, I would rather actually make a leveling 3 times as short and have it take 5-6 hours with a multiple hours of fails. So that way it makes challenging and makes the reward a little bit better. But that's obviously my idea. Now let's go into the artifacts. So each class, each spec will have its artifact. And when we look at the talent trees, so the first of all, my big idea was how powerful are those artifacts? How good are they? Well, first of all, I honestly don't feel like I should be wearing the artifact. I don't think anybody should be wearing artifacts. They are made for the key figures. Thrall is aware of the Doomhammer, not some random potato enhancement shaman or something like that. Enough of this awesome, making us feel awesome and epic, okay? I'm not in kindergarten, but I guess a lot of people would need that recognition. But when I look at the artifacts, and I was thought, well, what the hell? Like, really? Like, what could they possibly bring? But as soon as I looked at what they said, for example here, when you use Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm, Ashbringer will mimic that action for 2 seconds. That literally means that your attacks literally become a Runeforged weapon on some key abilities, and that is huge, and I like that. I like that the artifacts are not there just for show, they actually have an impact, because let's face it, when we actually had the garrison was more for show than they actually impact. Now, if you take a look here, they obviously have a multiple choices you can progress, and that's also great. So artifact power is going to be your currency, and there's a lot of choices tied to it. So hopefully that choices actually offer a lot of depth in the gameplay, and hopefully you're not going to max out all of it. Hopefully you can only have maybe like, you can do only half of the abilities here, so that way you have this kind of a different awesome depthness of a playstyle. Then they said they could be rotation changing abilities, a rotation changing things that you can do on your artifacts. So for Unholy Decay, if I want to go for the straight up single target burst, I can go that. If I want to go for the more like a rot feeling with the dots or heavy dot damage, I really hope that the artifacts would like to take that and incorporate it. So meaning that the artifacts in terms of pure damage rotation offer you a couple different choices. So that's the first thing. I like the artifacts ideas. I do think it's a little bit too early. Okay, anyway. So and then for the Death Knight, this is a troll ability. Raise Ally now restores all health, and Death Knight can resurrect himself. So obviously the aesthetics also of the weapons are absolutely amazing. So when I looked at the Death Knight's gear, I was like, this weapon in the center, I'm like, man, that's me. That's like darkish, greenish, fellish, like, love it. Love it. Obviously this is a one-hander, I think, but still, I love it none the rest. Very, very well thought out themes, beautifully crafted weapons. That's something I think that Warlords, like WoW, has been missing in general, is something that is beautifully created. And obviously they decided to go this round, and I commend them for that. Also, keep in mind that the artifacts will be usable in PvP. It's not only for PvEers. So that is also, obviously, we have to keep that in mind. So we're gonna go past the fellow druids. Class orders. So class orders, again, this is what I said on my stream. You are their leader. I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm leading a bunch of programs, okay? I'm a leader of this glass. I'm a leader of this mug. I'm a leader of this snack that I haven't finished from this morning. So as you can see in this room, I can lead the shit out of that pants, my friends. I'm a true leader, my friends. No, it's not. I believe becoming a leader should something that you prove yourself, either with your ratings, either with your raids. I find it's okay to be a leader of something, but I don't find that it should be given to you. So that's kind of my partake. But here, if you can see on the last slide, they say focus on the class identity, and that was the biggest complaint of WoD. If you can see here through the entire presentation, and you probably saw it, my friends, they focus on safe. That's literally screams out here. It screams very, very like loud. Like they are trying to make it as safe as possible. They tried really hard to make an impression here. Believe it or not, they busted their ass off. Every bit of information here is designed for us wanting to know more, and they succeeded at that. Everything they did not obviously admit, and obviously it's Blizzard, they never admit the failures, but they didn't admit they admitted the failure of Warlords of Draenor, but they didn't present it here. They instead, what they did is kind of a hit that missing signals that, hey, it's not Warlords of Draenor, we'll learn from our mistakes. Like, focus on the class identity, just specific talent tree for your artifacts. That's the adding the depthness, and I think it's great. I do want the company to be more straightforward. Now here, order halls, it's something that I don't really look forward to, personally. I think that order halls are pretty bad idea. Let's listen to it a little bit. So, you have a few followers following you, which is good. I hope you can actually customize their weapons, abilities and stuff like that. But besides of that is, I don't like the idea of orders. I don't like the idea of garrison. I don't like I like the idea of having a player housing and player development from that, but there should not be a hangout, average hangout spots. In fact, players maybe should visiting that once or twice a day tops, but should be forced to go out there in the world. And what happened with Worlds of Draenor, it's created a huge instance area, and that is not good. And this is another instance area where, yes, you can socialize, which is great improvement. You can see other players running around your spec and the class, but to me, it's not necessary. This shouldn't be done. They should, again, focus more on the open world environment instead of us sitting in the orders and troll each other. Again. So, they did offer a lot of like depthnesses. It's this screaming for me actually Star Wars: The Old Republic, where the followers actually finally following you. Star Wars copycat. But regardless of that, we're gonna keep going here. So dungeons and raids, they say how dungeons should be meaningful, and obviously that. Raids. Now, here's the thing, they don't really talk a lot about the PvP, believe it or not. In the BlizzCon and the announcements, they don't touch it as much the other game. PvP kind of always trails back. So them actually be able to like come here and actually openly talk to it, it takes guts. They can understand in the PvP actually starting getting more popular. Building your character creation. Again, that's something like, hey, we'll learn from our mistakes. I'm gonna be playing this guy a lot too, because this is where the lot of hidden stuff coming in. But okay, so Demon Hunter. First of all, what I think about it, I'll be playing the class. Hell yeah, I'll be making guides for it too. So, 2 specs, beautiful. They did the right thing. Instead of washing out the characters, they created just 2 cohesive specs, and that's a good idea. Because honestly, I think that there's a lot of washout that's been going on lately between the specs, especially for the DPS classes, assassin, combat, subtlery. Like when you see the rogue, if it's a combat, if it's a subtlery, or if it's assassin, you kind of get the feeling that, hey, it's a rogue, I know what exactly to expect, maybe a bit of a different in terms of rotations. Obviously killing spree and stuff like that, but regardless of that, I like the idea of actually having just a synchronized 1 spec, so that's good, believe it or not. So here I want to touch base a little bit about their abilities. So Fell Rush feels like a charge, there's no cooldown on it, and it generates 40 fury. So with that said, this should be something to look into. If there is no cooldown rush that generates fury, that's pretty stupid. So I'm pretty sure they're gonna put cooldown there. Otherwise, this is just does not make any sense. This is burst of speed all over again. I-beam and everything. Vengeful retreat. There is a lot of complexity into this class, a lot of hidden complexity. So you know how they saw how you can stun and line up, and then I look like I gouge to people and shit like that. Yeah, but Vengeful Retreat, for example, that is an extremely high skill base, because a good Demon Hunter will be able to avoid a lot of CC by mages and a lot of casters. So when you think about Demon Hunters, you usually start thinking about anti-caster related things, and having no cooldown charge, no cooldown lift for line of sight, for those gap closings, and also be able to avoid the CC every 24 seconds. It's huge actually. Like literally, as a demon hunter, he can leap away. With a vengeful retreat, and then full rush again forward, and therefore basically avoid the CC. So the gameplay obviously for the pretty cool, but let's talk about the honor system. Honor system is a good idea. My biggest question is what happens to the gear? How do we get gear? How do we get in a tournament gear, or what's going on? Also, Gladiator's Medallion doesn't belong here. It should be just a baseline, and the human should get a separate ratio, because otherwise a human literally get an extra talent. That's the way to look at it. Like human will literally get an extra talent, and in most senses, as far as I understand, the talent, it depends, but I think the talent is gonna always top the ratio. Just think about it. What's stronger, like Orc ratio, or for example, Unholy Blight? I would probably vote for the Unholy Blight over the Orc ratio, and that's kind of a thing. So, great idea that you have to level. Progression prestige is also not bad. Obviously, they want to show the necrotic here. They say, hey, we listen to your feedback. Here's your necrotic. Finally, you're giving it back. Except, what I don't like about this is a lot of replacements. Replaces Dispel Magic, replaces Curse Strike. Why it does have to replace? Why it cannot be added on? We're the PvPers, we want to see more complexity and stronger gameplay. So why there is a huge need for replacing? Also, from Unholy Decay standpoint, replacing Curse Strike with a Necrotic Strike does work, but it works against the Necrotic Plague. Because use those death runes every now and then for festering strikes to prolong the diseases. So with that said, they need to make a plague barrier, then extend the duration of a necrotic plague, then we can do a necrotic strikes as well. And I think that will actually create a better gameplay in general. Now with that said, I don't know. We'll see about that. They need to work out the complexity. They need to show us the entire talents before I'll become a believer. Because for now, I'm interested, but I'm cautious. Just like everybody else with a new expansion, especially when the expansion comes in so early. Being able to spend puff up so much money for the WoW became essentially a very expensive game right now. So, well, Warlords of Draenor wasn't worth our investment, but here they're trying to show you that hey, it is worth it, and they're being humble about it too. Adaptation sounds like a bad idea, and an internal cooldown trinket, that's passive. That does not make a lot of sense to me, my friends. Bloodlust is gonna be freaking amazing, especially Affliction Warlock Shaman synergy with the blood and soul is too strong. Okay, so Bloodlust, I want to talk about this really quickly. What happens when Affliction Lock pops a Demon Soul and gets a Bloodlust on top of it with the Trinket procs? Let's think here a little quickly. Like, this is a game breaking. Imagine it for a second. Affliction Lock with a Demon Soul and a Bloodlust at the same time. So, and this is what makes me pissed off. Listen to this. Jumble up another action bars. This is literally the biggest insult he could ever given to us Unholy Decay players. This has actually made me pissed off a lot on stream yesterday. Jumbles up a lot of action bars. What? Who says this shit? Alright? jumbles up a lot of action bars. Here's the funny thing, don't put it on the action bar. This is just, listen to this again, like this is absolutely insane. No use in PvE, and in the world where it's gonna jumble up a lot of action bars. What? Admittedly come in here and say, hey, you know what? We thought Death Knight, Unholy Death Knights would actually be really good without a Necrotic Strike. We fucked up. We're bringing the ability back for Unholy Decays. When you say something like this, I'll be like, you know, you're the man. But when you give the excuses that, hey, it jumbles up a lot of action bars with the option of not putting ability on the action bar, okay, so from what I've seen is, this might not be bringing the level of complexity that I am personally looking forward to into the game. If it's gonna be a lot of replacements, it's just gonna balance the classes a little bit better, but it's not gonna balance the skill more, unless the actual weapon artifacts and the talents from the trees gonna add unless they add a lot of depth into the game. I honestly do not see them trying to improve the gameplay here. Without having that piece of information, I really cannot say a lot, and the only thing I can really say is jumbles up a lot of action bars. So the ability needs to replace the other ability. What? No. I'm a grown man. Let me make a decision. Do I want to play Death Knight with a jumble up action bars, or I don't want to? I would like to have that choice, not you. Okay, so the looks and everything is amazing. So here's a few things I want to show you guys here before that. So basically here the entire presentation was about, we fucked up, we're not gonna admit it, but we're gonna secretly tell you that we're trying to do a lot of different things. Okay, this was their message. We here heard your feedback, we want to improve. Like literally legitimately saying that. If you see here, he says what the hero class to us is that it have its own beginning, where back in the day when the DKs came up as a hero class, they said, one of the developers, I think it was Ghost Class, said it's a hero class, therefore it should be stronger. For them, they say no, it shouldn't be stronger, it's just because it's a different playstyle. Then they have this thing as like, okay, Garrison, but the followers are gonna be interactive if they go with you in a fight. Here they say, hey, this is PvP something specific, we heard your feedback. Here, this is something we heard your feedback. They're literally saying it over here. And that's a good start. What this expansion, what this announcement and everything else happened is, it made me excited to see more information. And obviously being a YouTuber and content provider, and I can make guides that will get a lot of views, and quite honestly, those guides will be like, those guides will pay off my game. So I'm not worried about that. Essentially, it's not, for me, it's not going to be money wasted, it's going to be money invested, essentially. But the biggest problem is, it's for average person. When I didn't make a YouTube videos and I was buying video games, they were very expensive. So with that said, I want to look at from the perspective of the person where has a limited income, and is this game worth to buy over something else? And from what I'm seeing here is no, not really. Not now, not yet. I want to see more. I want to see more nerd analyzing shit. I believe on Sunday they will disclose some of the information, and that is a good start. Okay, this is a good start. This is not where World of Warcraft is back. Oh my god, so amazing. Oh my god, let's get excited. No, let's not get excited here. This stuff that they're making here should have been done a year ago. Okay, the stuff that they're making, the PvP talents, should have been done 3-4 years ago. This is something that's been always given them as feedback, and until they lost money and they saw a huge decline in player dissatisfaction, they didn't move their asses. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is, if we can hold off from pre-purchasing the game and bombard them with the true criticism that will actually help us improve the game, we might be able to make a difference here. Because essentially, WoW became a little bit too arrogant, or I think the creators became too arrogant, where they throw the content at us that kind of they made, they got some feedbacks, they thought it was good, boom, here, there you go, enjoy it. They didn't listen to constructive feedback about class complexity missing and that the gameplay is going to be too boring. And now they're all about the class identity, my friends. Each specialization gets its artifact. Like, what else? How else could they say, hey, we fucked up, therefore this is how we're doing it to fix it? And that's great. And if that means that if a lot of subscriber losses make them to actually go and start actually taking and absorbing all this feedback, then let's hold off to purchasing and see what is going to happen more. And that's kind of my message here. Guys, thanks a lot for watching this 27-minute vlog video. I had a pleasure of making it for you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And as always, до свидания.